All right, welcome back to the world's greatest broadcast.
World.
Dude,
Mwah!
I gotta be honest with you. I kind of like, I don't know what it is. I know many people told to stop, but I kind of like Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Why can't we be both? Get greedy.
I know, but it just sounds like.
Welcome to Long Island and the world's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
I like it.
Monte and
I
the
like
Pharaoh.
it. Maybe I'll have to do it that way. At the board, the returning producer, Abe. How are you, buddy? No microphone.
I'm doing good, guys. My bad.
You reacted fairly quickly. It's okay, Abe.
Yeah, right.
He's
So,
there.
guys, I couldn't hear our guest Brian, and I'm like, I'm putting the earphone.
Here
in my
we go.
ear, and then I don't even realize that Abe unplugged my headset, and that was why I couldn't hear him. And then he's like, that's a little bit embarrassing.
That might make a difference.
I was a little embarrassed.
Why were you embarrassed?
Because our guest was like, do you really know what you're doing?
No, we don't. What's the big deal?
Well,
What the
How
hell?
could you be the world's greatest broadcast if
Hold on
you
a
can't
second.
put your headset
Is
on?
White Castle the world's greatest shit burgers?
Here you are cursing again on the main show.
Damn it. Now
That's
you
two.
you need to
That's
enforce
two.
this with me.
That's two.
But they are the world's
So if
greatest.
anyone doesn't
okay.
know, our new sponsor,
You
Jim Beam, we're trying to tone down the foul language that Jimmy Pharaoh seems to use on a quite elaborate basis. And so I'm trying to keep him in check as much as you guys
You
love
need to
Jimmy
remind me a little more
and his-
heavily
and his
about
rants.
this because
Anyway, we got to
okay.
get
Is White Castle have the world's greatest poop burgers?
yes,
Okay, so what's the big deal if we don't,
because they don't forget to cook the burger.
Actually, sometimes they do. You should have seen the scene I saw
I can't
last
believe
weekend.
at your age you're even eating that. And
Well, I'm defying nature,
Here's what I don't understand.
laws of physics,
I don't understand.
digestive rules.
Jimmy and I are almost the exact same age, and
Yes.
we are not young guys.
No, we
right?
are not.
We're not young
What?
guys.
Huh?
All right.
Huh?
I've exercised. I've lifted
So
weights.
do I.
Right.
I don't
Blah,
lift
blah,
weights,
blah.
but I exercise.
Jimmy, you do.
Well,
But Jimmy has the worst eating habits of any
worst.
human being I've ever seen
The
in my
worst.
life.
I'm awful.
And I'm the one
Raisinets for
that
breakfast.
has had two. He carries a large bottle of
Ginger
ginger
ale.
ale full of
Ginger
sugar
ale.
every day,
Right,
and
absolutely.
he drinks out of the big
Right.
5-liter bottle.
And I don't eat lunch or breakfast. I don't eat any breakfast. And my breakfast is coffee and cigarettes.
yeah.
I'm just like Eric Clapton that way, coffee and cigarettes. And eventually, after being at work for like 6 to 7 hours, I will stop and actually eat Wendy's. So I'm asking for it. I agree.
I'm not asking you to
I'm
be
asking
asked for it. Anyway, want to get to guests. I'm very
Yeah.
excited. This guy is in. You know how big a fan I am of WCCW.
I know.
So when I got this opportunity,
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But first, let's get to some news.
Go ahead.
Gilgo Beach suspects. So if you don't know, in New York are actually Long Island,
right here on Long
Queens.
Island, right.
There were murders going on for about
Long
13
time.
years ago.
Long time.
And they never could be figured out who did it.
Bodies were being dumped right
But now
by,
they're
by
saying
the OBI.
that he has ties to Las Vegas, Atlantic City, South Carolina, authorities say.
Right.
Here's my question to you, Jimmy Pharaoh, because we always must stay on, and we're going to ask our guest here.
Okay.
Something don't smell right.
Why?
For 13 years, you couldn't figure out who killed these women.
Right.
About 6 months ago,
Okay.
they decide we're going to put together a task force because people keep asking. And, we found him. We thought the guy was just, so we waited till he bit into a piece of pizza and threw it out, and we took his DNA sample, and bam! It matches the blood samples we found 13 years
They
ago.
took a piece of pizzas.
Listen, I believe in the DNA thing.
Right.
Here's my problem. It was a cold case for 13 years. But now, because you put this task force together, you got the job
So you
done.
mean to tell me until the task force was put together, all those years they weren't trying to accumulate clues?
They couldn't get anything going. They couldn't find anybody.
Who's the task force?
It doesn't matter. Who cares?
I want to know where they got Columbo from that he instantly said, just a minute, ma'am, one more question.
This is my fear of what's happening, right? It's like you could be targeted one day. Hey, you know what? The guy, no one's going to miss him. The guy with the long hair, boom, you did
And
it.
all I did was bite into a piece of pizza.
Possibility.
Wow, Mike, you really don't trust anything that they report, do you? I don't blame you.
I don't.
I'm actually agreeing with you.
Benny Scala says Alec Baldwin's upset that he isn't the most notorious person in Massapequa Park anymore. Very good, Benny.
That's
Benny
excellent.
is very
Benny,
funny. By the way,
that's
Benny, Dan
funny.
and Benny in the ring on our channel. Fantastic show. Love the show. It's different than any other show. They have older wrestlers on, and the conversation is fluid. And the best part about Dan and Benny is their guests. A lot of times you never heard of them, and boy, oh boy,
there's reasons for them.
Boy,
talking
oh
to them.
boy,
Absolutely.
amazing,
There's a lot of gold in
amazing
them there
stuff.
hills. Absolutely.
All right, the dogs of Chernobyl are experiencing
By the way,
rapid. Yes,
that sounds like a killer faction. The dogs of Chernobyl.
that would be a decent faction.
We should put one together.
That
Okay.
they're having rapid evolution studies suggest.
Gee, I wonder why.
What they're saying is these dogs who have been radiated, their
Right.
kin now, or their bodies are adapting
Right.
to living
Yes.
in a nuclear world.
It's called survival.
Pretty amazing, the human body and the animal body
Yeah.
and everything else.
I actually feel very bad for these dogs, but apparently they're doing just fine. Leave them alone. Let them do their thing.
And you know what the strange thing is?
Yeah.
For the people that don't believe in God,
Yeah.
think about how impressive the human body is. That
It's ridiculous.
It can
It's
adapt.
ridiculous.
Not just the human body,
Yeah.
the any animal body, right?
This is all by chance.
By
right?
chance.
Get out of town.
So here's the thing.
Come on.
We don't believe in God, but we could believe that we could put a task force together that
Right.
finds the murderer of those people.
Yeah, you're onto something there, Rabbit.
I am very worried for what's going on in
Yeah,
this world.
you should.
But anyway, this
you
is,
should be.
you know how we get political?
Yeah.
And then Brian probably doesn't know, but our first channel got shut down because of our political beliefs.
Well,
So we keep it
because
very
of our
tone.
also
And-
the folks on the
and to
couch.
be fair, us with our questioning, right?
Right. Sure.
We've tried to tone it down, but it's very hard because we
Right.
have our beliefs.
I mean, I can't even curse anymore.
August 3rd, everybody, the unsung heroes who made the stars. That's next week. We have David Isley and Tommy Angel. Again, two wrestlers who were, quote, enhancement talent
Right.
that
right.
made the stars that we know.
Right.
And
Awesome.
September 15th,
Oh,
we
here
got
we go.
Manny Fernandez in the house. And
Nice.
then Barry's back on September 17th. So if everybody remembers Barry Windham, who had a massive heart attack
Right.
probably about a half a year ago.
Correct. A little while back. Yeah.
He'll be back in.
Right.
I'm a
That's
huge
awesome.
Barry Windham fan.
Is
We've
he
had
getting
him in
his
the
vocal cords ready? That's what I want.
I have not checked, but I'll find out for
All
you because
right.
that'd be very important. We had Barry in once before, and we all know how important Barry is to the
Barry's-
Monte The Pharaoh
Barry's
show.
great,
One of
great,
the
great,
all-time
great.
greats.
Absolutely.
I'd like to thank this band that sings the theme song for Monte The Pharaoh and Jimmy Farrell, along with his partner Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall.
Yes,
Wisteria
sir.
Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. And what do you do there, Jimmy?
You like and subscribe.
And while you're doing that,
You switch on over to the Monte The Pharaoh page. You like and subscribe, and most importantly, you become a member.
where thanks to everybody out there, I think this is a perfect time to do a quick roll call.
Hit it.
Maria Davis,
Maria.
R.J. Hudson, First
RJ.
Lady. I should never call her Maria Davis. The First Lady of Pro Wrestling, R.J. Hudson, Davio,
Davio.
Roy Batiste, Jay Will,
Roy.
Benny Scala.
Will.
Who else? Phil
Benny.
DeCesare.
Phil! up, Phil?
Loose Cannon, Loose, we love
Loose.
you. ESO Creative, who has the after show,
Bruce.
which
We
will
got
have a
Loose and Bruce.
special showing, not tonight, but Friday, with the after show with ESO, who does those wonderful shows with the magazines and everything
Absolutely.
else.
What's up,
Again,
Bruce?
R.J. Hudson, I think I called your name
Yes, sir.
already.
Yes,
Who
sir.
else? Jason Morning, thank
What's up,
you.
Jay?
Again, where we lost our first channel, which had over 20, a mess in the house. How are you,
What's
Mess?
up, Mess?
Hey,
by the
we had-
way, we've hit 10,000.
That's what I was going to say.
Nice.
Thanks to you guys. We have now quickly recovered.
Yep.
We're halfway to where we were, and I
Yep.
want to thank you. And thank you all for
Absolutely.
that. And it's thanks to guests like the great, we'll talk about it with him, but
Right.
I grew up calling him Brian Adias.
Right.
All right, but there could be a question there, so we need to ask him about
Okay.
that too.
Okay.
If you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island and the world's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Catch us on the Monte The Pharaoh YouTube page, the Monte The Pharaoh Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Catch us on the Monte The Pharaoh Twitch TV page. And if you're lucky to live in New York, you can catch us on Channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. and Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And Channel 20 on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. where over 150,000 people watch our show weekly.
Take that, NWA.
You ain't kidding, brother. And again, I'm going to ask everybody out there, we'll even ask our guest.
Yeah.
Please download, right, either on Roku or on your phone. It's free, the new Intuitive Network.
Spelled INTUITIVE. I-T-I-V-E. Intuitive.
where they got these wonderful documentaries. They've got movies. They've got comedies. They've got, oh my God, they got a television show that I was just watching. Jesus, I just had the name of it. It's friggin' awesome.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
Well, that's besides
Oh,
us.
I
was
thought
going
it
to
was
get to
us.
that.
I'm
But I'm going to tell you,
disappointed.
they've got weekly shows that are
Right.
on there now, and most importantly, they've got the world's #1 broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh,
There you
their
go.
anchor show,
Don't forget Long Island.
and don't forget Long Island.
Nice.
You're pretty funny tonight.
Well, I'm pretty...
We'll be right back with our guest. I am so excited for the great Brian Adias.
We shall see you in a WCCW moment.
What, no sneaker joke? I thought maybe you could do a sneaker joke.
Oh, all right.
Too late.
We'll be back to kick some ass.
There you go.
That's a donkey, by the way.
Sir,
Ah.
Manscaped.
Uh-huh.
Have you tried the new equipment that's been sent?
I'm afraid because it says weed whacker. I'm scared.
Maven, Manscaped. What are you thinking about
Love it.
Manscaped, dude?
Love it.
What do you use it for?
Necessity. What don't I use it for? Put it this way. The only hair I have on my entire body is these eyebrows.
Yeah.
That you see. These
Wow.
caterpillars racing to the middle of my nose. That's it.
That is it.
That's all I have. And that's all I want.
That's the
So
pick.
Manscaped is a
You-
must.
We were talking before the show. There's nothing worse than just hair.
Yeah.
Right? Hair on a woman, hair on a man. It's just bad.
Absolutely. And it's the one thing that the older I get, it starts growing more in unwanted areas.
Absolutely.
I hate it.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Just going to go out there.
Oh, boy.
Go for it.
You're doing a deed.
Yes.
Again, I don't want you to have to admit this because we, as men, we try not to admit this. But if you're going to
Oh,
go
I
do
know
the deed
where-
on a
I
woman,
know where
would you
he's
rather
going.
have her be hairless or a little hair, racing stripe, or
Racing stripe.
full retro bush?
Well,
Racing stripe.
Retro Bush is out.
Yes, thank you.
Retro Bush is out.
Yeah.
I don't mind a small, well manicured landing strip. Every now and then, if it's completely, and I'm talking like baby's ass bald, then I start. Where is that pedophilia line? I don't want to
Wow.
wander into that.
That's very
Thought of it like
interesting.
that.
I never thought about that. You're a
Wow.
smart dude. Holy shit.
So if the landing strip is clean enough for the plane to go in smoothly, you're cool with that?
If the landing strip has, like I said, well manicured,
Yeah,
you can see both sides. It's not
Like blinking lights on both sides of that
I
landing?
just don't. I don't want. I don't want the shrubbery going off into unwanted areas on that as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, look
but-
what you found. Ooh.
I got to be all honest though. Hey, the older I get though, I don't think I can be as
I found
have
it!
you ever gone down there and she slowly brings down the underwear, then
What is
retro? Just,
absolutely.
you're like, whoa.
Wow,
Yeah, I'm
like
46,
it
of
pops
course.
out?
Do you like walk out or what do you do?
No, I muster through. I muster up the courage to get
He's a
through.
trooper. He's a trooper. Gotta give him an A.
Oh, not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah,
There you go.
I hear you.
There you
Listen,
go.
I couldn't
Super
say.
Bush.
I couldn't say. Well, if you have the same beliefs as Maven, does Manscaped could help you?
Absolutely.
The weed whacker.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I may have to, go in a room, close the door, and hang out with the weed whacker for a little while.
Man, I think you're a retro guy, aren't you?
I like 70s adult films, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
But
only
with that,
Ron
we're going to take a
Jeremy,
quick
Batman.
commercial break, and we'll be
Anyway.
back with this wrestling icon, Maven.
We will see you in a drop kick second.
Drop kick. All right, welcome back to the world's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, where we're welcoming the great Brian Adias.
There he is.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good, man. How are y'all doing?
We're living the dream, man. We're living the dream.
We're living the dream?
So you're now you're at your home in Dallas, Texas, correct?
That's correct.
And what's a typical day for yourself in Dallas, Texas nowadays, Brian?
Well, I'm a finance director at a car dealership, so I go in there and work several hours. Semi-retired, I do that, but for the most part, I take a couple days off a week. Just I have a distributorship on a wellness product that I just started up, my wife and I, here in the last several months. So I'm spending a lot of time on that, but just try to stay in shape, train 3 or 4 times a week. It's hot right now in Texas, 110 degrees today here at my house. So try to stay cool.
I mean, you look like you're in fantastic shape, man. Like, what kind of exercise programming are you on?
Oh man, I run back and forth to the refrigerator about 4 or 5 times a day.
Chew those Twinkies carefully. Make sure the digestive tract is good.
No, I'm one of those people that have been really fortunate as far as genetics. I stay pretty lean. I don't eat perfect, but I do. My wife and I try to eat a lot of chicken and vegetables and stuff like that. But when I want some cheesecake, I eat it. So I just, for working out, I just have my own weight room here at my place and do that. Do a little elliptical and some things to keep my hips and my knees moving and everything. So I've had a couple of surgeries, had my hip replaced, had 2 back surgeries. So just try to keep moving.
How's the cheesecake in Texas? Because cheesecake here in New York is legendary.
I can't imagine cheesecake in Texas is that good, right, Brian?
Depends on where you go.
How's the pizza in Texas?
What?
It's not as good as New York.
Okay.
well, we beat you at something, I guess.
My wife and I went up there in 2018, and there was this little place, Uncle Paul's. Was that in Manhattan, or where was that?
Right off Times Square.
Yeah, right off Times Square somewhere.
Nice.
But it's called little hole in the wall called Uncle Paul's, and man, it was the best pizza we've ever eaten.
I believe it.
Unbelievable. Well, yeah, the pizza. Well, obviously, looking at me, you could tell I eat a lot of pizza. Maybe I should stop.
Oh boy.
I got to go on your program. Are you able to share any information about your wellness product that you're actually pushing right now?
Absolutely, it's Unicity International. We're office. Our headquarters is in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got a 150,000 square foot building there, and I'm a distributor. And my partner is Greg McTee. He's in California, and basically wide open. Greg is in several different. He's international. He's got stuff going everywhere, and I found out about this several months ago, and my wife and I are jumped in full with both feet, and it's basically the one that we really like. There's a drink called Unimate. A lot of people have the Unimate drinks from the Unimate plant, and the other one is called Balance. It has a ton of nutrients and fiber. You can drink it about 30 minutes before your lunch, 30 minutes before your supper, and it just really puts fiber in your system and really makes you eat less. You don't have to go on a special diet. You don't have to do a bunch of exercise. You can just eat what you've been eating, but you end up eating less, and it really works. People that are obese and have A1C problems, you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, overweight people, this product is, Big Pharma wants to put you on, doctors want to put you on medication and keep it on the rest of your life. When I was looking for this business, I wanted something that I could actually, a product that could help people live a better life. I didn't just want to just do something to take people's money, but it's called the Feel Great system. It's got the Unimate and the Balance in it. And my wife and I have been doing it for about 6 weeks now. She's lost 15 pounds. I've lost 10, and just really lost every bit of it on my waist. I didn't have a bunch of bad weight, but it just leaned me down really quick. So it's a great product. I can send you all my link, and that's actually my wife's going to send you the link right now if you'd like to post it. And
Beautiful.
It's it's a great product. Remember the old Rexall drug stores that
Yep.
they had since 1903. It's Rexall went from the brick and mortar pharmacies. This is the 21st century Rexall product. It's been in business since 1903, so 120 years, and it's a great product, and I stand by it 100%.
Well, I'll tell you, Brian, as you were speaking about it, I didn't know if you noticed, but Pharoah kept looking over at me when you were talking about fat and obese people. I don't know why. But
I looked at you when he said A1C, which is hemoglobin. I worked in a lab. He's always setting me up, Brian. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
So we grew up WWF fans, right?
True.
But obviously, once cable came and WCCW entered our television,
He was done.
Right, you were one of those top stars that we loved. But the one thing that always confused me is I always called you Brian Adias, like the shoe. I always recognized it like that. Was that your wrestling name, or was it ADIOS?
It's ADIAS, and we started out. I'll tell you a funny story. I grew up with Kerry Von Erich. We started first grade together, went all the way to 12th grade. So I spent a ton of time over at Kerry's and his dad Fritz Von Erich's house. And when I decided to come in the wrestling business, we were sitting in there talking to Fritz in his office, and I had my foot up, and he looked over at it and he said Adidas, Brian Adias, and so we went with that. And when the cable we went nationwide and worldwide, Adidas Corporation actually sent a letter to the Sportatorium and asked me to change the spelling of my name, or change my name, and I didn't want to, so I just took one of the D's out and made it Adias. And then after I'd been in a couple of years, they came back and said, "Hey, we want to sponsor you now." So they changed the tune after they saw how strong the world-class wrestling show was and everything. And I said, "Nah, I've kept it like this for long enough now. I'll just keep it, So, but that's a true story.
Did Fritz get mad at you? Like, Fritz didn't want to turn down that kind of advertising, right?
Or did he?
Well, Fritz didn't have anything to do with it. They contacted me. Not
They went straight to. Oh,
okay.
very cool.
Yeah.
And you didn't tell Kerry, because
wanted
Kerry
me
would
to-
tell Fritz.
Well, I was over there. I mean, I practically going over to their house. They had a place out in the country, about 157 acres. It was like to me, man, I grew up a middle class kid. We didn't have a ton of money. Never went without anything, but going over to their house was like going to Disneyland. They swimming pools, motorcycles. We hunt and fish just constantly growing up. So Kerry and I our main thing we did bird hunting, did quail, dove, and duck, and we took over basically all the getting the eggs from the quail and the dove, and putting them in incubators and stuff like that, feeding the ducks before duck season, and getting all the hunting ready. And Fritz really liked that because he didn't have to do it.
Very cool. I wanted to wish you a belated happy birthday. We both share the same day, not quite the same year, but happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I turned 63.
Yeah, so we're close. We're right around the same
Would
age.
you stop? Slow down.
I'm around 6
Well,
years, 7 years, something like
55.
that.
Can we slow down? You've got me at like 111 already. Slow down. Oi.
So
63
tell
is
me,
just fine. though.
Pharaoh, how old is he really?
He's 50. He just turned 56. We're from the same grade, just like you and Kerry were. We went to school together.
We're in
Gotcha.
the same park. 56,
That's
63.
okay. We are in the same.
We're
We're in the same park. Okay, I can go with
Absolutely.
that.
7 years.
Yeah,
That's close enough.
yeah. I agree.
And you look better than me. So I mean,
Well, there's that too. I mean, he looks better than me too. If I take this hat off, he looks better than me.
And without being disrespectful, I got to give you credit. Your wife is beautiful. I got the opportunity to see her turn on. You're a blessed man, sir.
Yeah, she's
Nice.
pretty smoking, that's for sure. So
Well, you said
People
it.
always-
I wanted to say it, but I didn't have enough guts.
well,
but since you said it,
yeah.
I'll second that.
Ditto.
thank you. It's a true story. She's everybody always asks what's that hot lady doing with that old dude, you know? So
Rough.
yeah, she's a good one, man. She's the best girl in the whole world. I love her with all my heart.
Then you are truly blessed. You are truly blessed.
Yeah.
You know, Brian, as we know, you grew up in
she-
Dallas. Wait, it says here, I just want to make sure of this, you received a 4-year scholarship for shot put?
Yes. I
What's
threw,
with Texas and the shot put? How do you get a scholarship for shot put? It's just so unusual.
It's just like track and field, just like you would get a scholarship for being a sprinter or a long jumper or a
Okay.
hurdle guy or whatever. I threw shot. Well, Kerry was when we were seniors. I actually went to a little town called Lake Dallas. We went to Lake Dallas High School. It's small, but Kerry and I was ranked number 5 in the nation my senior year in the shot put. Kerry was ranked number 1 in the discus in the whole country. And he and I placed first and second at the Texas State track meet in Austin in the discus, first and second. And then I placed third in the shot put my senior year and got a 4-year scholarship to the University of Texas, Arlington, where I was conference champion 4 times in a row there. Won my conference, Division 1A. I mean, Division 1.
So there is something to be said for shot put. I got to admit, when I hear shot put, we don't even think about shot put as just, involving sports here in New York. All we think of are the 4 major sports. That's pretty cool that you got a 4-year scholarship and you were one of the best in the nation. That's crazy.
When you bring that up, go ahead.
Now, when Kerry and I played running back and linebacker in high school, and I had gotten a concussion my junior year, and I'd got my bell rung my senior year, and the doctors were saying, man, you probably should kind of stay away from this heavy contact, football. So I was already throwing the shot put, but my senior year, I just really threw a long way and got national recognition. So it kept me out of football, basically. So I got that the scholarship over there.
Were you disappointed to not be going further with football because of the concussions?
No, I didn't. I was never going to be a professional football player, or I would have been a decent college player, but I had no aspirations to play. I wasn't fast enough. I didn't have a fast enough 40 time to play in the pros, so I never saw myself as a college or pro football player. I just stumbled into the shot put and was really good at it, and the discus as well, and it paid off.
Now, didn't Kerry make the Olympic team in discus?
He was working. We graduated in 1978, and then I went to UTA. He went to the University of Houston for 1 year, his freshman year, and he was working toward the 80 Olympics. And if you recall, they boycotted the Olympics in 1980. So he said, to heck with it. I don't want to wait another 4 years for the 84 Olympics. So he left the University of Houston and started wrestling full time.
So, you grew up with Kerry, like you said. Seems like you guys ran down the same roads, kind of doing the same sports. Obviously, Kerry was hitting the gas pretty hard. Were you involved in hitting the gas at all back at that age, or did you stay completely natural?
I stayed natural. I did a little bit of stuff in college with the shot put because they had to be so strong, but I never stayed on anything for any period of time because I knew that's short lived. Man, you hit the sauce that much, it's going to affect your body. And now then, I'm 63 years old, man. I just had my heart checked out, and the guy that had did the sound. What is that called?
Ultrasound.
Yeah, cardiograms and all that. Mm-hmm. But I'm in perfect shape. They said, man, you're like you're 30 years old. So I'm glad I didn't do the roids and stuff and stay on them heavy. That's me right there. I was like, that was like three years ago. That's
Wow.
Wow.
when I was
Damn.
60.
Yeah.
Incredible.
After further review, I want to be your age if I'm going to look like that.
That's been
Wow.
After further
Damn,
review.
Brian. Brian, I got to ask you, though. I mean, growing up with Kerry, and obviously you guys were best buds, and you see Kerry ballooning into a statue. Did you try to tell him, like, bro, this might not be the best thing. You look great, but this might be bad for you?
Well, here's the thing that a lot of people, I know y'all probably know a little bit about it too. Kerry trained harder than anybody I've ever seen. You can't just do some roids and be big. He
Right.
trained harder than any professional bodybuilder that I've ever seen. He was a workhorse, man. So, and he didn't do them all the time. You got to realize where he
Okay.
came from. Fritz
Okay.
von Erich, when he was younger, he was a mountain of a man
was.
too. So his genetics,
He was.
as far as he just trained harder than the rest of the brothers did. And
Right.
it wasn't all roids. Kerry trained super hard to get that body. It
That's
just didn't-
actually
you just
that's
don't
actually really good to
do
know.
some roids
That's
and
cool.
look like that.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a lot of
because
work.
he might have had the greatest physique we've ever seen, right, Mike? I mean, Kerry Von Erich, you absolutely love. I know that
Yeah.
much, but he might have had the greatest physique we've ever seen in a wrestling ring. Very close, if not the best.
So Brian, hanging out at the Von Erich house, like you said, it was like Disneyland. Was there any jealousy on your part, being around that family all the time?
Absolutely not. They basically, I was like one of their brothers. I mean, when I graduated high school, I still have it. Fritz wrote on his letterhead, he said to Brian, he said, our sixth son. So, and then he wrote me a deal saying how he really enjoyed seeing how I came around with the training and the shot put and gotten to be a great athlete. And he had a lot of respect for me, and I had a lot of respect for them. But I was never jealous of Kerry and them. I mean, I just never had any. It's it just didn't happen.
You mentioned Fritz. What was your relationship like with Fritz? And the second part of the question would be, many people from that organization felt that Fritz pushed the boys too hard. Is that something that you feel?
I think more than pushing them, I think he had high expectations from them, but I don't think standing behind them like some people portray, with a whip pushing people on. I think the brothers, being Kerry, David, and Kevin, I think they pushed themselves more than Fritz pushed them because they wanted to live up, to the expectations, and they all were hard workers, man. You know what I mean? Kevin and David both went to North Texas. Kevin played football, David played football and basketball, but then they started wrestling. Why wouldn't you? They didn't play all 4 years, but making all that money stepping in to wrestling, why wouldn't you? But my relationship with Fritz was great. I just he always treated me really, really good. So he I was over there at their house when I was 6 years old. So he basically watched me grow up. Fritz and Doris were really good friends with my parents. Lake Dallas only had 1,000 people. It's 40 people in my graduating class, so it was a small, small town. But I have nothing but respect. And Fritz was never, he was never mean to me or anything like that, or like a lot of people portraying. He could be gruff. Don't get me wrong. You know, he was a captain of a tight ship. You know, he's old school, but he saw the dedication and the work that I was putting in to making myself a better person and athlete. And his boys, we all worked hard. So to answer your question, I think with the boys, Fritz pushing them, I think they pushed themselves harder than Fritz pushed them.
Mm. So let's go back to the time where you decide you want to become a pro wrestler. What's that conversation like with your parents?
Well, you know, I went all 4 years at UTA and I got my degree in finance. I promised my mom that I would get my degree, you know, because when Kerry left the University of Houston after his freshman year, he was just on me constantly. You gotta come into wrestling. You gotta come into wrestling. So I said, I will, but I promised myself and my mom that I was going to get my degree and stay 4 years. And I started actually between my sophomore and junior year at UTA. And when I was enrolled in college, you couldn't back then, the NCAA, you couldn't be pro and get paid. So the only time I wrestled until I graduated in 1982 was in the summer. And I wrestled in the summer of 80 and 81, and then I went full-time in 82 when I graduated college.
WCCW goes national. At this point, with that roster, when WCCW went national, did you think they were going to take over the world? Because the talent level that was going on in Texas was absurd. Did you think at the time that you could take over the country, the world, beat out the Vince McMahon East Coast stuff? I mean, what were your thoughts when it went national?
Well, I think in the beginning, I was young and didn't really think a lot about it, but I'll never forget it. Fritz brought me and Kerry into his office at their house one day, and he said, "I'm about to make a big move. We're gonna break away from the NWA, and we're gonna be world-class championship wrestling. And there's this thing called cable TV." And me and Kerry kind of looked around like, what's that? And he already knew. He knew what time it was and what was going to happen. And he was a smart man. He was a businessman to the core, man. He was extremely intelligent when it come to business. And to answer your question, no, I didn't realize how big it was going to be. I don't think anybody did. When you're in your infancy, on a business or whatever you're going for. But as it went on, I really saw. I went to New York in 2018 for a get together up there, and I bet I had at least 1,000 people come up to me that weekend and say, "Man, I loved World Class Wrestling on ESPN." He said, "Y'all's show and wrestling was head and shoulders above everything else. The way it was produced, the talent, and all that." And looking back, I was really honored to be a part of it, and still am. So I have people all the time still talking about World Class Wrestling.
Well, it's amazing how many fans love that organization. I mean, every wrestler there, just incredible.
Great stuff.
It was so much different than what we were huge WWE guys, obviously, but it was so different.
Different presentation. Very different.
So, Brian, your first heel turn is against Mike Von Erich, who recently, at that point, just gets out of the hospital. The question to you is, what kind of pressure were you under? I mean, that's a big deal, right? The guy was certainly fragile. I'm sure Fritz put you in that spot because he trusted you, but what kind of stress was that for you as being his opponent?
Well, I think Fritz and I kind of came up with the idea at the same time, for me turning heel. You were never going to be above the Von Erichs as a babyface here in World Class. And Kerry had had his motorcycle wreck and had hurt his foot. He was out, and uh, they needed somebody, and it just made sense. I came up. Everybody knew I was their friend, and what's the worst thing that could ever happen is having your friend turn on you, and then turning on Mike. Answer your question, yes. He knew he could trust me, that I was not going to eat Mike up, and I always made him look really good, and put him over just like a $1,000,000. But nobody ever beat Mike 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring except me. When I did my heel turn, that was the only time Mike Von Erich got pinned 1, 2, 3 in the ring. I mean, he worked with Flair and everybody else, and nobody ever beat him. They'd go Broadway or something. But when I saw that Fritz was willing to do that and put me in that position, I knew I was carrying a big load on my shoulders as far as being a heel. And when I turned heel, I had to watch out what I was doing around here in Dallas, because they idolized the Von Erichs, and people wanted to kick my ass and beat me up every time I went somewhere, so I was carrying a pistol when I turned heel, for good reason. I had people wanting to just get me constantly.
On a personal level, though, and you would know, did you think Mike should have been in the ring after all that? As fans, you heard he was never the same after that toxic syndrome. Did you personally feel that they shouldn't have put him back in the ring?
Well, there's a fine line there. Kerry had got hurt. David had passed away. So Mike was kind of thrust into that position. But I love Mike to death. He was just a sweetheart of a guy. I really don't think he ever should have been in wrestling, if the truth be known, because he just wasn't cut out for it. Really, he had a bunch of guitars. He wanted to play music and play rock and roll. So his mind wasn't really into it, and his everything. But after he got the toxic shock and came back, he was different. He had a different look in his eye. But, I had in wrestling, I had a job to do. So me calling the shots, whether he should have been there or not, I was just, I was part of the program and doing what I was asked to do and draw money. And that's what we did, but I don't think Mike's heart was ever into wrestling, and he probably could have been better served doing something else.
When you mentioned David before, when the family lost David, and I consider you part of the family, what was that like? And then when Mike took his life, how was that situation? Were they too different, or did you have the same feeling?
I was devastated when David passed away. He was in Japan. He's on a trip in Japan. David and I were close too. We traveled a lot together before, when I first started, and before I went to Oregon. But David and I, and Kevin too. I mean, we were just we were close. It's about as close as you can get. But it was devastating with David because it was so unexpected. I remember I was in Mid-South working for Bill Watts, and he called me at my apartment there and told me about David, and they wanted Fritz and everybody wanted me to come back. I actually got on a plane that day. It was Friday, which we wrestled at the Sportatorium on Friday nights, and I flew back to Dallas and took Kerry's place in a tag team that night. But it was a somber event, man. When I flew back, I went straight over to their house, and man, it was terrible. It was devastating. But I buried 4 of them in 9 years. I buried David in 84. I buried Mike in 87. I buried Chris in 91. and I buried my best friend Kerry in '93. Kerry was a biggest shock because I had trouble believing it, and David being the first one, being an untimely death, was probably the most shocking. But it kind of shocked me too. It didn't shock me with Mike and Chris, but it shocked me with Kerry. For him, because he was such larger than life individual. It was, he just felt like he didn't have anything to offer anymore. That life didn't have anything to offer. But I buried 4 of those guys, 4 of my good friends in 9 years. It's tough.
Did you? It's not easy to ask, but I'll give it a shot. Were you ever angry at the way some of them passed away? Obviously, I mean, did you ever get angry about it? Like, what the?
I don't know if anger is the right way to put it. Suicide. You don't ever know what's going on in somebody's head. I found that out with Kerry because I was with Kerry the day before he committed suicide. But to answer your question, I don't think I was ever angry. I guess I was, like your mom used to tell you, I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed.
Okay.
I was disappointed that they took their life. And, Kerry had 2 girls that were 6 and 8 years old, and they just idolized him. And he loved, Holly and Lacey. I mean, like, that was their world, the girls and him. He loved those girls. And it was, I guess I was a little bit, I guess you could say, angry with Kerry that leaving those 2 girls behind than I was of him taking his own life.
And you mentioned you were there the day before. Did he not give you any signals at all?
No.
Nothing. And I knew Kerry better probably than I'd spent more time with him growing up, and he did not. That's when I tell everybody, you never know what's going on in somebody's head, and you just don't, because he didn't act like anything was wrong.
Yep.
He didn't have anything telling me, hey, things are tough or anything like that. I was shocked when he did it. It's I was driving down the road and I heard it on the radio, and it was what was weird. I was like a mile from the exit where they live out in the country, and I pulled down there, and Fritz was there, and all the cops were there, and they had Kerry covered up with a tarp, and it was surreal. It was. I still think about it. I still think about him. It's hard for me to believe that he took his own life like that. It wasn't easy, So
I don't want to glaze over it, though, but you did say you weren't so shocked about Chris and Mike. Why was that?
They were just. I think both of them spent their life trying to measure up, and I think they always felt like they might not have measured up, and they weren't good enough or something like that. And,
Pressure.
They were. It just. I guess overall, it just didn't surprise me as much with Mike going through the toxic shock. He had a temperature of 107 for 2 days or something, and they thought he was never going to make it, and then he pulled out of it. But him not being the same, it didn't surprise me as much as if that would have never happened. And Chris kind of had his own little issues and stuff. Chris was 10 years younger than Kerry and I, but they just. I kind of look at Kerry, David, and Kevin on one level, and then Mike and Chris. Not that they're below or anything. It's just they were just different. They didn't,
Now, you have this relationship with Fritz. He's like your second father. At this point, after Kerry takes his life, the family's in disarray. Do you go to Fritz and have a conversation with him to see if he's okay? Is there any kind of conversation, or is at that point Fritz done?
Oh, like I said, I heard it on the radio, and I was 3 minutes away from where it happened, and I drove over there, and I talked to Fritz then, and I talked to him later as well, but I don't think he ever really gave up. He was a strong-willed man, and I felt more. My mom and I always talked about, Doris, their mother, what she went through. There's nothing like a love that a mother has for their children, and she lost 5 out of 6 kids. Mm-hmm. Jackie, the oldest boy that was older than Kevin, he was killed in a freak accident in Buffalo, New York when he was 6 in like 1958 or 59. And then, David, Mike, Chris, and Carrie, 5 out of 6 kids. And I had more compassion and empathy for Doris than I did, Fritz. I think Fritz could take care of himself. He's pretty strong-willed guy. And, we had conversations though, but he didn't give up on life or nothing. So, he got brain cancer, passed away in '97, but he was pretty much the same, till he died. I used to go over there and see him. It was on that same property where Carrie killed herself, where he lived, So, but he was a strong guy, and
let's bring it back to one of the great angles of all time in wrestling is when you and Kerry have your fallout. Kind of going back to what we spoke about Mike, how much stress were you up against since Kerry had just come off the motorcycle accident? I'm assuming you knew he had lost his foot, or did you not? What kind of stress were you under for that angle?
Oh, I knew. I went to the emergency room when Kerry had the motorcycle wreck, and I was there when they did 14 hours of surgery, and the next morning they were, after the surgery, I was there with Fritz and them, and the doctor said, there's just too much damage. We're not going to be able to save his foot. And, Fritz was asking them, are you sure? And they said, yeah, there's just not enough of the bone and stuff left from his ankle down to his toes. It was just mangled, man. He was wearing shorts and a flip-flops when he had the motorcycle wreck, so it basically just ground his foot off on the asphalt.
God.
But the stress of it, when Kerry had the surgery, he started training back on his upper body and stuff. He never quit working out when he was off for 18 months with his foot. He was getting ready. He was ready for the day he came back to wrestle, and he and I wrestled at Reunion Arena and sold it out. I think it was Thanksgiving 1987 when he came back. So,
how about some stories, if you have some, of a couple of other legends from that area that left us too soon? Gino Hernandez, Chris Adams. Any stories about those folks?
Oh yeah, Gino was a great worker. So was Chris. It was. Gino was kind of a shock. They found him over there and in his apartment. He was dead, and Chris was kind of got in trouble. Chris was a drinker, kind of a blackout drinker. I think he had some legal trouble when he got, killed. He was basically living with a guy the guy was letting Chris live with him, and they were drinking and got to wrestling, and it got serious, and Chris put him in a chokehold, and the guy's name was Boudreaux, and Boudreaux told me, he said, man, Chris wasn't letting me out of the chokehold, and I was getting ready to pass out, and I knew he was not going to let go because he was mad. The play turned into a real fight, and they fell back up against the headboard on the bed, and the guy had a holster with a .357 and he grabbed that gun, and he was put it on Chris's leg. He was going to shoot him in the leg to get him off of him. And right when he pulled the trigger, they moved, and it went right up through Chris's torso, through his heart, and killed him. So that was tough too, because I'd worked with Gino and Chris a lot too, and they were both just really, really good workers. They were mainstays here at World Class, you know.
I got to ask you while I have you, because I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't ask you, since you knew the Von Erich family so well. I always felt that David was destined for great, great things, and I feel that he was the greatest of the Von Erichs. I mean, ultimately, Kerry is probably the most famous of them, but I feel like David was cut short. Was David headed for serious world championship aspirations? Because I felt he had the real total package as a professional wrestling product. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Everybody will tell you David was the best worker by far. David understood the business, the psychology of the business. He was going to take over World Class. He was going to step in Fritz's place, because David had a business head on his shoulders and understood the business really, really well. And that really changed. Him passing away changed the course of what happened with World Class tremendously. So, yeah, David was the worker. I watched David work. He could work, man, and he had the business sense. And not that Kerry and Kevin didn't, you know, but he was the one that was going to take it over and run it.
Can I ask you about when David passed? Again, we're just fans. We don't know anything. You hear so many different stories, one being the abrasion and then one being that he OD'd on drugs. Do you know anything behind the passing of David?
I do not. I don't know anything other than what everybody else, what's been written or whatever. I know when he left, he was having some trouble with his stomach. I don't know if he had what was wrong with his stomach, but he had complained that his stomach was hurting before he went on that trip. So it would be conjecture on my part to say what happened, because I wasn't there. But, you know, they say he died of enteritis. I think he had some type of intestinal problem, and that's all I know. I didn't hear anything else, or
So,
you know what, all the rumors. But it's like I said, it'd be conjecture on my part.
You on a personal basis, right? You guys are all rock stars in Texas at this point, and now worldwide you're becoming rock stars. You know, clearly drugs was a big part in the industry, just not in Dallas, but all over the world, right?
Yeah,
For you as a wrestler. How did you stay out of that game and survive?
Well, I mean, I'm no saint, you know, and I'm not going to portray myself as a saint. I had my bouts with alcohol and prescription drugs and stuff like that. And you know, I think a lot of it, you know, you work so hard and you travel so much. I think with me, it was kind of like when I had some time off, it was like I treated myself to, you know, something to maybe escape some of the pain or escape reality or whatever you're wanting to do. But like I said, I'm no saint, but I woke up one day and it's 23. I haven't taken anything other than what a doctor has prescribed me since May 10th of 1993. I've been over 30 years now.
Awesome.
Going clean and sober with absolute 100%.
Tell us about the Freebirds. And how was Michael Hayes? Is he full of himself? Because he really ruined this poor guy when he ran into him in an airport. How was Michael Hayes in the Freebirds? Michael, you know, lived his gimmick, which really, if you don't live your gimmick, you're selling yourself short. So I agree.
Every professional wrestler has to have a bit of being full of himself.
Yep.
Because if you can't separate your personal life and your business life, you're basically a product, and the way you market yourself, the way a corporation would market a product, you're selling yourself short. You know, I acted completely different on TV as Brian Adias as I did people. I've always had everybody that's ever met me say, "Man, you're one of the most intelligent, nice and guys I've ever met." Because I can't go out and talk shit to people and be Brian Adias all the time. So when people met me, I wanted to be impressive as a human being, and not be all that. But when I was at a wrestling arena or something, I was certainly in character, and you have to be. But yeah, Michael had a strong personality, and he lived the business. He's done well for himself. He's up in WWF, Vince's office, and one of his right hand guys. So he's done something right, man. So Michael's a smart guy too. So Michael and I always got along good. I had a lot of respect for him, and Terry and Buddy. They were the Freebird Von Erich feud is still talked about today, and it was huge.
In your opinion, we've seen since the Freebirds, we've seen the NWO, we've seen D-Generation X. Are the Freebirds the greatest faction in the history of pro wrestling in your mind? Just curious.
You know what? I think basically they are. They were doing their deal before any of that other stuff happened. Mm-hmm. So they were innovators in a respect. Having those three guys were the best three guys of a combination of different type of wrestlers that you could possibly have. Michael was the guy that could talk, yep, and the flashy. Gordy was the worker, and he could talk, do interviews. Buddy was the fall guy, but they were innovators. They come up with those gimmicks, and they were the very first people to do all that. I think that's why that Von Erich Freebird feud is one of the best angles ever, because Dallas wrestling, we got after it down here, man. We didn't, it wasn't a bunch of theatrics. We laid them in, and we worked hard, and it was physical, and that's why people still talk about world class being their favorite, because there was a fine line between shooting and working.
Brian, when Kerry came up here to the WWE, we were jacked. How come you didn't come up here? Huge fan of you also. Why did you never come up to the Northeast?
Well, I've never really been super public about. I had hurt my back, and I was out for a little bit, and I started, I've got a degree in finance. I started thinking about my future, and that was when the WWF was, getting popular and all that. And to tell you the truth, I didn't want to continue and be crippled. It was always in the back of my mind, because I had really hurt my back. I broke it 3 places, and I was always kind of leery after that. And I'm always the type of person, if I couldn't go up there and give 110%, I just didn't really want to. I kind of eased out of wrestling and went into the car business as a finance director, and done that for a long time.
And when people come in, they're financing their car, do they recognize you, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Brian Adias"?
Yeah, I've got my pictures up in there, and it's people are shocked, especially down here in Dallas, man. So many, 90% of the people that come into my office to sign paperwork, do all the title work and everything, they're like, "Oh my gosh, man, the Von Erichs," and they they're like, "I can't believe it that you're here," but yeah, it's you still. Tell you a funny story. My wife and I were in Walmart about 7 or 8 years ago. We're walking down through there, and I hear some people behind me saying, that's him. I know that's him. And my wife, we finally kind of turned around, and then once I turned around, they said, I told you it was him. And I said, how did you know it was me? They said, we could tell by the way you walked, your gait. We watched you so much on the channel 11 and 39 wrestling here shows. We know the way you walk.
Incredible.
That is pretty wild.
Real quick, can you also just give us that website again where people can find the body enhancing product that you're selling?
Yeah,
you lost 10 pounds on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I've lost it. I mean,
Quickly?
I lost it all in my waist. I didn't have a ton to lose, but I really lost some of my, just a little bit of I had around my waist. I have to wear a belt now with all my shorts and my pants because they're basically falling off. It's unicity.com, and you can look at all their products. And if you, my wife sent you the link, and if you want to put that link,
it's posted.
there,
It's posted on YouTube and Twitch. We're rolling with it. Yep.
Perfect. That if they click on that, it's got my name up at the top, referred by, and they can actually just say
The second link that was in
the second link that she sent. Yeah, and it says "Feel Great" in it, and they can actually click on that link, and they can look. They can browse the products, and then it has a deal that says "Buy now," and they can actually buy it right there.
Brian, we're going to let you go, but we're going to hit you with something called the Pharaoh's final question.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what he's going to ask you. It's unscripted.
Yeah.
But before you do,
What?
I do have a personal question. I want to kind of go back to Doris and Fritz. When the boys passed, did Doris blame Fritz for what happened to the family?
Ooh.
I'm not for sure if she actually, pointed the finger and blaming. I think it would have been easy to say, for her to say, they thought so much of you and they followed in your footsteps. They maybe felt like they had to live up to Fritz's expectations. But as far as blame and stuff, I don't really know if she ever blamed him. But they separated and divorced. Right when World Class was ending. So they built a big house out in East Texas, and they split split everything up and went their own ways. But Doris was there when Fritz, his last about 3 months of his life, when he was really getting sick from the cancer, Doris was there, lived with him until he passed away. So
Really?
that's a testament on how much she still, they loved each other. They just, got to a point like a bunch of men and women do where, they went their own ways. But it was tough for Doris and tough for Fritz losing that many. I mean, it's easy to say, what could have been done different afterwards,
Sure. True.
All right, Pharaoh's final question.
All right, I got to lighten the mood, okay? I'm going to
Good.
lighten the mood. Before the show, we were talking with Brian a bit, and Brian we're talking some football, and Brian was a big Minnesota Vikings fan in his earlier days, and he's mentioned that he likes Pat Mahomes, and he mentioned he likes Tom Brady, being a Jet fan. But I want to ask you, because I love asking this to the folks who love the football.
Oh, boy.
You know what's coming. We got Aaron Rodgers. Do we have any chance? Tell me we have a little chance. The Jets have a little chance with Aaron Rodgers. Any shot here, Brian? Come on.
100%.
Thank you.
If there's anybody that as good as Tom Brady ever was, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's proven it. And you got to realize they didn't just get Aaron Rodgers. They got the receivers.
Yep.
And they're putting that team together. It might not be the first year or the second year, but there's going to be a future, and the Jets are going to be a team that's going to have to be reckoned with in my book.
Take that.
Well, Brian, I
Thank you,
appreciate
Brian.
you saying that. I'm also a huge Jet fan, but what you don't realize, what you did, is now the Pharaoh
didn't
will
say-
predict the Super
I
Bowl,
will
which
not.
means there is
I will-
no chance of it happening.
He's
So
blaming
thank
me
you.
for over a half a century. Do you believe this garbage, Brian?
Brian.
What do I got to do with it?
I want to thank you again
Ridiculous.
for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. I will text you in the morning. thank you again. You are a pro wrestling icon.
Yes, sir.
And an incredible human being.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for the candid conversation.
Absolutely, guys. I love your show. I'm going to start watching it now, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, we appreciate you, sir. We'll talk shortly. Thank you again.
Thanks again, Brian. You were great. Thank you. Well, he rules.
That's
He
all you gotta
rules.
say. He was incredible.
I thought he was fantastic.
Oh my!
He
Dude,
rules.
I can talk WCCW.
I know. We could have gone.
I could talk Kerry Von Erich.
You know, Abe, you got off easy.
24/7.
We could have kept going, bro. I'm telling you.
Abe, this could have went
There's something,
5 hours.
There's something about that territory. I agree.
But it's
there's
not just
something
that.
About, no,
It's like-
there's something about it.
Iceman King Parsons.
Yeah.
Gino Hernandez. Chris Adams.
Can I get a little?
Brian
Can I get a
Adias.
little Bruiser Brody? You throw in a little.
Yeah,
Bruiser?
absolutely.
can I?
Abdullah the Butcher.
Abdullah would come
Kevin,
in.
all the Von
Dude,
Erichs.
they were loaded. They were stacked.
Dude, how cool was Brian Adias? Dude?
How do you think that it would have turned out if somehow Vince did not do what Vince did? What, like the WCCWs, the Mid-Souths, they all still. I guess there's
This
just
is where
no way, right?
no. Forget Vince because
How can you forget Vince?
because they all passed away. Once the Von Erichs passed
That's
away,
true. That is true.
It
They
was
lost
over.
It's the heartbeat. No, you're right.
You know,
You're
understand, right? The Freebirds were great. Adidas
Right.
was great. Hernandez
Yeah.
was great. Chris
Yeah.
Adams was great. But the ultimate thing was the heroes,
Yeah.
the Von Erich boys.
This is true.
That's what kept it together.
Holy Lone Ranger Batman. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
God,
they were it.
Friggin', how awesome
were
was
it.
he, man? I
He
got
was
to tell you,
fantastic.
a huge fan of his.
Who else we got from WCCW?
I don't know. We got to get. You know
Got to
what?
start taking a look.
Well,
that was a
supposed to have
home run.
Tatum
He was
on,
great.
but Tatum like didn't show up. Right?
No,
We've had so many great
Tatum
stars,
got
but
off
I got to
easy,
tell you
too,
something.
for that.
For me, that was a super entertaining interview.
That was fantastic. It
And look
really
what this
was.
guy made out of his life too after wrestling.
You know what though? I mean,
It's amazing.
as a human being, I give him so much credit. He watched that whole family leave him.
Yeah,
How do you? I can't even.
testament to him.
It really is. He's an amazing individual. That
And
was
by the
fan-
way,
that was
with
great.
all due respect, his wife was smoking hot.
Was she?
Oh,
I
my
missed
God.
the whole thing. Why
Dude.
didn't you ever pop in so we could wave
I
and
was
say
gonna
hi?
ask.
I missed the whole thing.
I didn't know. Like, look, some guys get weird. Like, you get weird. If someone thinks your girl's hot, you get all.
I get weird.
Yeah, you go. You know, talking about my girl. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah,
What is this
you're a
shit?
bit jealous.
Well, no, you tend to hammer on. That's the problem. Your girlfriend's a big
But
whatever.
I would have said, hey, you know,
Yeah.
she's hot. But anyway, I don't know what else to say. She was hot,
Ay, ay, ay.
and I'm not being disrespectful.
I don't think you are.
I'm
You
just
kept it clean.
She's smoking.
Yeah, and I only cursed right at
Sorry
the
to
beginning
say
of the
it.
show. Everything was clean after that.
You're doing well.
It's effing wild.
But this may be a problem, though. It's going to stay on a little longer. I wanted to cover something with you. I thought it was pretty important. Right?
Okay.
So
Can't go home yet, Abe.
Mantor,
Abe.
Mantor passed away last week, right?
Yeah.
Mike,
Right, Mike. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I guess everybody's aware that Eric Sims, we have a relationship with him, right? Eric's an agent. He travels with the wrestlers. In fact, I think he was just down in Texas with Brian, and he did like a, like a mass signing
Cool.
down there.
Very cool.
So anyway, Mike, I shouldn't really call him Mike Mantor. So
He's
apologize.
Mike to you.
But I just want to make sure everybody understands what I'm talking about.
Right.
When Mike passed away, Erich, as we know, he had Mike booked for 80s Con or
Right.
90s wrestling.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
the
got
name,
you.
but I think it was 90s wrestling.
He had him coming up for something good.
So
right.
Mike unfortunately passes away, and we know Erich.
Still
Erich sometimes doesn't think. I've had problems with Erich.
Yeah.
Okay, and I made it clear with him. But overall, Erich Sims is a good human being. Sometimes he gets caught. I know for you,
I didn't say a word.
I know, but I'm just saying. I know you're not always the biggest fan, which is fine. It's cool.
To be fair, though, there's plenty of me that likes him quite a bit.
Absolutely. And
To be
that's-
fair.
I don't want it to seem like you hate him.
No,
I'm not.
absolutely
and
not.
If I'm coming across that way,
No, I do
apologize.
not. Not even close.
But Erich sometimes
cool.
doesn't
He's fine.
think. So he gets caught in the gimmick of stuff.
Yeah.
And the day Mike passed, he announced it.
Right.
Right. And then said, hey, everybody, who should I get next?
Oh,
So a lot of people, all right, I don't want to say a lot of people got offended. Some people got offended.
it's the timing.
And by the way, he's bringing in PN News,
Right,
who's
good.
Mike's best friend.
Good.
Right?
That's cool.
But it definitely bought some heat.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
I want you to weigh in
the
on
timing.
that first. Opinion about what I just told
It's
you.
just, well, the way you worded it just now.
Exactly. Just give me
If
your response to that.
You got to know to not do it right at that moment. Like, wait a day or two.
Fair enough.
Just don't do it at that moment.
Made a mistake.
That's fine. He's human.
Right. So you're close
So
to the
give him a
mic.
break.
You're close to the mic. Say
I
you're
like-
close to
I
him,
liked Mike quite
but
a
say
bit.
you're very close to him.
Right. I liked him quite a bit.
Is your feeling about what Erich did even worse?
Ooh. Well, first of all, if I'm close with Mike, how do I necessarily even know who Erich Sims is?
Well, because you're in a whatever. You're in a wrestling. You know Erich Sims is a promoter. And you know Mike was
Okay,
supposed
if I'm
to
aware
come,
of the whole
and you're very
situation-
close with Mike, does it make the
It
situation
depends
worse?
on where my emotions are at that given moment. If I'm really, really distraught and he says that, I might get a little, but then again, I wouldn't go public. I'd call him.
All right,
I'd be
so,
like,
okay,
Erich,
right,
you
okay.
might
So,
not have,
This is what
you know.
happened.
I mean, being
So-
publicly attacking him, I mean.
Okay, well,
leave-
so
you know,
there was a
leave
public.
the guy
There was a
alone.
public
What the hell?
attack.
Okay.
It was from Big Vito. You remember that guy?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I do.
This is what he wrote.
What did he write?
You wanted to know about your cult hero. He actually wrote this today.
What?
He's been doing it a lot, but I just took today's clip. You wanted to know about your cult hero? Maybe now you will respect wrestlers and the business. We are human beings. You prey on people's hardships and go to their deathbeds to get the last drop. If your house was burning, you would only care if your wrestling merch was okay. Anyone who deals with this going forward, you're just low class. By the way, can you put a picture of Big Vito up there so everybody knows who I'm talking about? Because again,
Can I warn you right now? You're getting me mad.
all right, but hold on.
All right.
I just
because-
want people to realize that
Yeah.
who I'm talking about, Big
Yeah.
Vito, because he was very
Yeah.
forgettable.
Right, yeah,
Okay?
look him up. He's got a cap.
Or,
he wears a
or
cap.
look for the wrestler who wore a dress to try to get over. That's probably the best.
God, really?
That's probably the most.
Oh,
that's probably the most
Jesus,
thing he's known
God
for.
almighty.
All right.
Oh, my God.
So
Go ahead.
anyone who deals with this going forward, you're just low class.
Get me mad.
Promoters, your promotions are your legacy. Do you want to be associated with this? Most of all, when you say the word, that's him.
It looks ridiculous.
Well,
Go
because he wasn't a good wrestler.
Right.
He had no mic skills. So
Yeah.
what did they say? Put a dress on him.
Yeah.
But he cares so much about the wrestling business. He's like, I'm okay. I'll wear a dress.
Right.
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 We
Gotcha.
spoke about
Where's the
before
lipstick?
before
I don't see
poor
the
Mike
lipstick.
passed away. We talked about the worst gimmicks of all time. That's one of the worst gimmicks.
Oh, Mantor pisses on that. What are we talking about?
all right. Most of all, when you say the word brother, it doesn't mean you take his booking for bullshit excuse like a trust fund. A couple of $100 doesn't cover pens and pencils. Have the honor and represent your brothers in this business. Now listen and read. If you book this person on your shows, you're just as dirty as him. Thank you for all who truly care.
For all who truly care.
Right. Now, let me explain something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So clearly,
I can't curse, huh? Go ahead.
a little bit, but don't get crazy. Don't do the Pharaoh crazy.
Yeah, whatever. If you're going to neuter me, I
Clearly,
ain't going to say
clearly
nothing.
Big Vito
Phooey.
is upset over the passing of another one of his brothers in arms.
That's fair.
Okay?
He's got every right to be.
And he's certainly upset, like you said. His timing was
Go back
wrong.
to the top of the statement. Go back to the top
Go ahead.
of that statement.
Go ahead.
Okay?
You want to know about your cult hero. Maybe
going.
now you will respect wrestlers and the business.
going.
We are human beings. You prey on people's hardships and go to their deathbeds to get the last drop.
Right here. If your house was burning, you would only care if your wrestling merch was okay. Is he disregarding that Erich is a father and a husband?
All right, I think the point is
I
that
know, I'm taking him literally. Okay?
you can't take it literally.
Why not?
Because if you are, then you know what? You're taking a.
Oh!
I stopped.
I think they know what that was.
I stopped.
Oh, you were saying Fugazi. That's what you
you're
meant.
taking a guy with half a brain and using his words as a literal statement. Okay? But I understand where you're going with it. But let me get a little deeper with this.
Yeah,
okay?
go ahead.
So he's upset about one of his brothers in
Tells
arms.
me
And
nothing,
Abe,
Chris.
please chime in also. So I checked Mike's GoFundMe page.
Yeah.
You know whose name was on the GoFundMe page?
Who's that?
Erich Sims.
I'm not surprised.
We were-
Let me guess whose name wasn't.
Take a guess.
Big dress veto?
There you go.
Very good.
So another example of words
right.
over reaction.
Right.
Well, let's go a little deeper. Last year, who was touring for 2 weeks and then was going to come on the show, or we were asked to come on our show?
Right. I remember
Who
the
was
guy,
it?
the guy in the dress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we said no,
Right.
but he traveled with what agent?
Oh, that's right. There's no one like good old Erich, right?
There.
Yeah.
So Eric's money was good
Oh, for him.
last year,
But
but no other wrestler it's
you know
not
what-
good for.
You know what I smell?
What's that?
I smell Dookie.
Well, there you go.
There it is.
Again, another guy who talks with forked tongue.
Ah,
And let's not mind you.
how surprising.
Erich, really, come on, think about it.
No, I don't like.
Do you think Erich was going to make money with Big Vito? Autograph signing. You going to get a Big Vito autograph?
No.
No.
I'm not even going to go buy a dress.
There you go. So Erich, who had a relationship with Big Vito, and I know this personally,
So why is he doing this to him?
he brought him up because these guys
Need attention?
They need attention,
There
and
we
they want to
go.
act like they care.
Right.
All right?
Right.
So, look, I'm not defending Sims. I'm just trying to
Well, that's.
call it like I see it.
Can I be blatantly honest?
Yes,
I am
right.
defending Sims. What? You're welcome, Erich. But it's the truth. What the hell is this garbage?
Well, it gets
That's
a little.
garbage.
It gets a little worse.
Oh, it
so
gets
the other,
worse.
The other
Oh,
day,
that's cute.
the other day on Facebook,
Yeah.
if you get tagged,
Yeah.
your name comes up.
Okay.
So there's a tag from Mitch,
Okay.
and there's this guy, and if you can find it, put him up too, because I want to get a little deeper into it. It's called Duke Loves Wrestling.
Okay.
WRASSLIN.
Wrestling.
Right? I call it Duke Does
Wrestling.
Duty. Okay?
Duke
Does Duty.
Nice.
But anyway, it's Mitch being asked by this Duke Does Wrestling to please come on and speak about Erich Sims. So
Okay.
Mitch wrote, I'm sorry, I have an exclusive agreement with Mike, Monte, and the Pharaoh, which is a joke, okay? There he is, all right?
Why the hell are we giving this guy a pop?
Because here's the thing.
Oh, we should not be giving this guy a pop.
Again,
What?
All of a sudden, some people were asking, who are you?
Right.
Duke Loves Wrestling.
Right?
Right? People are on there going, who are you?
Right.
I don't know you.
Right.
What does he do? He starts attacking our show. So I take a picture. I take a picture
this
of his
bunghole?
show. Well, there's a couple of things going on with this guy. Let's get a little deeper with this guy.
What else does Duke
I
like?
take a picture of some reviews, and I think on Chartable he
Yeah.
ranked 82 or 128. I don't remember.
Says who?
Chartable.
Okay, fine. That's
Chartable. So if anyone doesn't know,
Okay, that's fine.
Chartable is the audio portion of podcasting where people could see where you rank. Right. So he goes on talking about how we're number one, because that's what Mitch put. He goes, I only deal with the number one pro wrestling broadcast.
Thank you, Mitch.
And he starts attacking. They're not on Chartable. This guy doesn't even know how to read Chartable, right?
Oh,
he
my
goes, we're nowhere to be
God.
found. Clown Boy. Number one, number 19 all time in Ireland, okay? Number 30 in Japan. Again, I don't really care, okay? It doesn't matter, because guess what?
I'm not having a pissing contest with the
hold-
guy who loves wrestling.
But this is what I'm trying to get
Get the hell
to.
out of here.
It all doesn't matter because guess what?
What's that?
Remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, I said, what is the number one, the greatest match of the year get? How much money does that match get from PWI?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
So if you're number one on Chartable, you get nothing,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Okay? We have wonderful family, wonderful fans, right? And I tried not to get involved with the guy, right? He was just really starting to irk me.
I'm really getting
okay?
annoyed, but go ahead.
Here's the biggest problem with this guy. Can you put his face up again one more time, Abe?
that's the thing.
I want Pharoah to, because it's really not a face, right? Is it? What do they call it? An emoji?
Yeah, that's the thing. When you
It
asked
looked
me to
like
look it up,
Chef from
you're asking-
South Park. Did I
Exact-
see that right?
You're like looking. You're asking why did he get like a pop? I go on Google. That's the only picture.
Well,
That's
no,
the
no other
only
I know.
picture
well,
on the
hold
entire
on.
internet?
He also
wow,
goes on.
he's big time.
But I feel
Also,
like that
he
says a
goes
lot.
on
Wow.
and he says, I've been covered by every wrestling
Oh
magazine.
my
If
God,
you Google
shut
it,
up.
it's a half a page of Google.
Well, listen,
Shut up.
Google
Googled
Monte
you
the
guys.
Pharaoh. But hold on, here's the biggest question I have for you guys. Put his picture up real quick. The emoji thing, not the actual person, because I don't know what the actual person was like. I did look at one of his other social media pages.
Wow, look at that artwork.
Okay.
Look at the artwork. Wow.
Good stuff. But hold on, here's my question to you.
Yeah.
The picture I saw of Duke, right? Oh, call him Dookie.
Yeah,
right?
he's Dookie. He's
It
Dookie.
looked like a white guy.
What?
So is this one of these people
What is
the
that?
white guy who thinks he's black, or is it a black guy who thinks he's white?
I wish I could find a single picture of him.
Well,
That's
here's the biggest
Can you
problem.
find a picture of this
No,
guy?
I can't. No, I can't.
Here's
I'm
the
telling
biggest
you, I'm-
problem. It's not a white guy who thinks he's black or a black guy who thinks he's white. It's a loser who thinks he's a winner.
Yeah.
You're out. You're done. Ding, ding. I'm glad you love wrestling. Count it out. Ding, ding.
I'm serious. I can't find a single picture.
And
of this guy.
one thing, guys, he did insult me personally.
What?
He said, "You go ahead with your own life, you and your fat arms."
What?
He called my arms fat. He hurt me deeply. Fat.
Wow, your arms are fat, huh?
He hurt me
That's
deeply.
interesting. Remember the other day when you threw my car across the parking lot because you were
No,
bored?
I do have a serious question, guys.
I mean, what the hell? Why'd you do that to my car?
What are the chances
Oy.
of Dookie
Dookie.
actually having a real job? Anybody weigh in?
0 to none.
Abe?
I'm telling you, man, I couldn't find a single picture of him. I couldn't even find more pictures like that. It's just that picture, another picture like of the close-up emoji, and that's it.
I did hear CVS had layoffs, so it's possible that he's just trapped in his basement.
Well, all right,
with love for wrestling.
What are the chances that Dookie lives with his mommy still?
I
And
mean, there might not
And
be
he
a lot.
podcasts from his basement. His mom's like, "What are you doing down there?"
I
I
mean, that's
told you
the
to be
thing.
quiet after 10.
Meatloaf! Meatloaf!
Meatloaf, you gave me brisket. I hate you. I hate you, Mom. I hate you.
But you know what, though?
That's
Dookie
great.
has opinions about wrestling.
Oh, really?
He really thinks he could help AEW. He's got advice for Tony Khan.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe Tony Khan should give him a call because he signs every other idiot. Maybe he should. Maybe he should. I smell Dookie.
But Dookie wants peace.
He wants peace?
He wants peace.
Okay.
Not peace with us. He says, treat people respectfully
Oh,
in
I
life.
see.
So something that you do not do very well.
Oh, I don't believe in it. Do unto others as they do unto you.
All right, so can we have a man's bet? Is Dookie black or white?
I think Dookie is yellow.
What?
I think he's yellow because he talks like a cowardly Dookie.
Oh, by the way, he says he has lots of sponsors.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he has some kind of liquid company with, if you use his code, Dookie.
Oh.
If you use Dookie, Dookie smells wrestling.
What is it, toilet cleaner?
Dude, can we start a podcast, Dookie Smells Wrestling?
Dookie smells wrestling.
Or how about Monty smells Dookie's mother?
You see, you're not being nice.
No, I'm not.
You're not loving the
Do you
universe.
think Dookie's
You're
mother's
not
hot?
Admitting
Wait a
love.
minute, is his mother hot?
I don't think Dookie's mom admits to giving birth to Dookie. That's what I think.
She named him Dookie.
She did name him Dookie because that's probably.
What do you want to name our son, honey? Dookie.
First impressions go a long way. Dookie.
So anyway,
Yeah.
to close this out,
Yeah.
guys, I didn't mean to go too long.
Oh, you had a ball. Who are you kidding?
I know, but
You did.
I love it.
You loved every second.
I love it.
Hey, Dookie, thanks for stopping by.
Dookie, we love Dookie.
You know? Wait,
Dookie's
hold
our
on.
friend.
I'm gonna flush you.
By the
now.
way,
I'm flushing you, Dookie.
He's been doing wrestling podcasting since 2016.
Wow, he's an overnight unknown.
He's
Way to go! Way
So
to go!
the weigh-in,
Yeah.
Erich Sims makes a mistake.
Yeah, let him.
Big Vito clear. Why do we call him Big Vito anyway?
I have no
It's
idea.
not even big anymore.
We should call him dressed up Vito.
He's dressed up Vito.
He's dressed
Let's call
up
him-
Vito.
Let's
Yeah.
call him Dressy.
Yeah, Purdy Vito.
Let's call
He's
him
Purdy.
Dressy.
He sure is Purdy.
So this is a guy who Erich Sims took care of.
Right.
Gave him money.
Right.
Made no money off of.
And decided not to use him again because you can't make money off what you can't make money off. Too
Right.
bad. Get over it, Dressy
So
Vito.
now you should tell Paul Pia News
Right.
you're a clown if you come work for Erich Sims.
Maybe PN News should pay Dressy Vito a
Oh,
visit.
by the way, this guy Dookie
Yeah.
was reading all these statements because the reason it started, he wanted to do an exclusive on Erich Sims. It's called the slap heard around the world.
Okay.
Again, when the Iron Sheik slapped Erich Sims, it's funny.
Right.
I wouldn't consider it the slap heard
like
around
Bobby
the world.
Thompson's 1951, the Giants win the pennant.
And to be actuality,
no, it's a little different.
to anybody else, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, the biggest thing that ever happened.
Now hold on to Steve Kerr. It was like, oh my God, you're gonna make it like the Iron Sheik thing.
So anyway, Dookie reads all his statement, but he doesn't name Dressy. Wait, what do we call him? Dressy.
Dressy.
All right.
We'll call him Dressy.
Dressy.
Dookie meet Dressy. Dressy meet Dookie.
There you go.
D&D.
He doesn't name Dressy's
Double
name.
Ds.
He goes, a world famous wrestler writes, and I'm thinking to myself, in what world is Vito world famous?
You know, I remember last week, Vito ran through my neighborhood, and all the neighbors were like, who's that? Had no idea who he was. So, but he's world famous. He's world famous.
Listen, to be fair to Vito, I want to be fair here. And Abe, tell me if I'm wrong.
Wow.
The guy's probably working at Walmart.
Oh, here we go.
He sees himself on YouTube every so often.
Right.
He's upset about his life.
Right.
And he sees that Erich lives a pretty decent life. He's traveling, he's vacationing.
Erich
he's
works
doing all this
hard
stuff.
and has other...
Right. And he's probably upset while he's got that he probably has a Walmart gown on, like a dress.
You might be right.
And he might be upset.
Have you seen the
My
dresses?
real life turned into a dress.
Have you seen the dresses they sell at Walmart?
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, God. It fits him. It suits him.
That's terrible.
That
But
is-
I bet you he gets a discount.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I heard they laid him off. I don't know if he gets a discount. I heard he shoplifts there now.
So do you think since Vito's so concerned about Erich Sims's life,
Right.
and Dookie is so concerned about Erich Sims's life,
Dookie!
what do you think is going to come about this? Like, do you think Erich Sims will be shut down by the wrestling world?
Oh, my God. Well, you know,
Is there a possibility?
When you're a world-famous wrestler, your opinion carries weight. Erich Sims is as safe as could be.
He's pretty safe.
He's good to go.
He's good to go.
We'll see him soon.
Oh, by the
good
way,
to
the
go.
other good part is Dookie went on the attack on Mitch
Dookie.
because Mitch wouldn't make a statement.
Wait a minute. Don't go after
So
Mitch.
wait a minute, hold on.
okay?
Here's the best part.
Now I'm getting even madder.
He writes that Mitch stole company ideas and was being sued.
What?
So here's the deal.
What?
Okay, when you're in the world of business, right?
Oh my God.
And maybe
Why are we entertaining this?
No, but here's the funny thing. When you're in the world of business, no matter what you do, you buy a house,
Yeah.
you own a business,
Yeah.
you probably could Google people and find out things that may happen.
Oh, sure.
People get sued, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the time, right?
Oh, unfortunately, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he Googles it, probably reads something like a court case between Mitch and John Jones
Right.
over this,
Right.
settled whatever.
Right.
And he turns it into
Oh, you're a...
or like Vito, right? Erich Sims goes, "Hey everybody, who should I get?" "Oh, I'm sorry, Vito. You're so upset again over the passing of Mike. It's taking over your life.
Right.
You're crazy upset
Right.
about it.
Right.
But you didn't donate to his GoFundMe page. You know how I feel about GoFundMe pages. In this particular
Right.
case,
Right.
I was okay with it, right? Mike's got a young girl, a young daughter, an old elderly father.
Of course.
Hey, you know what? And you know
course.
what? I'm not telling anybody that they should donate. And by the way, I want to make it clear. Paul Stockwell, who's a fan of the show, this guy donates to everything. Great guy. Benny Scala donates. I want to name these people because
Yeah,
you know what?
'cause they do the
Phil,
right thing.
Maria, Stingers,
do the right
Davio, all these guys.
Yeah.
They do the right thing.
Yep.
And again, I'm not telling you that you had to donate. All I'm saying is you didn't back it up with stupid messages on Facebook.
Yeah.
You put your money where your mouth
And
is.
I'll bet my last Dookie that goes down the bowl that when Erich asked, who do you want me on? Who do you want me to have next? Not a single one of them said Big Vito.
Well, wow.
I'm sure of it.
You know, I have to
I
check
would bet
that.
my last Dookie.
You know what? You're probably right.
I know I'm right.
There hasn't been one big veto comment on there.
I can't remember ever going to the network or going to YouTube or going to anywhere where I can catch a wrestling match and going, I think I'll watch a Big Vito match. Ever. And until right now, I had no idea that there was a person that a parent named Dookie.
Well, anyway, we want to thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we've got the men who have made, the unsung heroes who have made the future stars on.
Very nice.
We want to thank you. Jay Will says Perry Saturn might be a good interview. Now, that's
That'll
a
be
guy.
cool. I've heard of him.
That's a guy
He rules.
that could wear a dress.
Dude, he was ripped in that dress. And Moppy? Dude, that was great.
It was great.
It was great.
Want to thank you for joining us again, Brian Adias.
Oh, that was
unbelievable
fantastic.
interview. Unbelievable
What a good guy.
hero in wrestling.
Excellent interview.
Thank you again. And if guys, go check out their shop. It's pinned to the top of the page. On these smaller clips, we'll add the link on there. Again, we are always honored that you guys join our little show every Thursday.
We're so
We're so, because no one knows who we are.
No one.
So thank God you guys care enough about us. Matthew Holland says, have Chavo Guerrero on.
That's great. I like that, Matthew.
Well, we got Barry Windham on. We got Manny coming on.
But here's the one I really want.
Who?
Spirios Arion.
Spiros Arion.
Let's find Spirios
You know what?
Arion.
It's going to be my mission.
I want to find
It's my
him.
mission.
I want him.
Spiros Arion.
Yep.
I love
That
it.
would be nice. That would be nice.
Perry Saturn. I'm going to try to see if we can
Perry
get
Saturn
Perry.
would be great. That would be great. That would be very, very cool. The Filthy Animals.
Look at
Perry
you.
Saturn. Yeah, the Rings
Anyway,
of Saturn?
What an honor that you guys join us every
yeah.
Thursday. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Again, we want to thank Brian Adias for taking your time out and your wonderful smoking hot wife
You're
joining
killing
us
me.
also.
Oh, my God.
Because she was smoking.
Yep.
Invite who? Maria says, invite what? You want me to invite Dookie onto the podcast?
Hey, Dookie, thanks for passing through.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Here's the question. If we invited Dookie...
I don't want to talk to
No,
Dookie.
I know we're not going to have him on.
Thank God.
But if we did, do you think he would show his face? Like if we could find out if he's black or white?
What does it
No.
matter what
I
he
wanna
is?
know.
He's a jerk.
I
don't
wanna
care what
know.
he is. Oh, you really want to know?
Do you ever see those video clips of like black guys who think they're white and white guys who think they're
What
black?
if he's
It's
both?
hilarious.
What if he's both? Then I'm really confused.
What do you mean, like Star Trek with the black-white
Right,
guy?
like Frank
Oh
Ocean.
my God, how great
That would be
that
great. You don't understand. The black's on the right side of the face. Mine's on the left.
What was the name of that alien?
Well, first of all, the name of the episode was "Let That Be Your Last Battlefield," and that would be Beale and Loki.
Oh
were
my
the brothers,
God.
I believe. I'm not
Dude,
positive, but I think I'm close.
If I don't care who the person is, find them on the street. If someone's willing to dress black and white
Right.
like that,
Right.
and we could interview the black
Right.
part and then the white part,
I'd be
friggin'
I
awesome.
would be unbelievable. But they feel strongly both ways. That would be.
I
it
hear
would be
you.
kind of strange.
There would be inner conflict.
Yeah, it tastes great, less filling. It would be
It'd
very
be inner
strange.
conflict.
It would be very, very strange.
It'd be inner conflict.
Yeah.
I want to say goodnight to you, Abe. Another great job. Dookie's mother. I'll see you later. Have a good night. Send us out.
You've been watching Monty heading on over to Dookie's mom's house. And until next week, later!